Welcome to this happy occasion of Teachers Day. Every year we celebrate this occasion as a physical program. Due to pandemic, this year we are having it virtually. This function has its importance in IIT Kanpur as we celebrate and felicitate some of our distinguished colleagues who have excelled as teachers. We also honor those who have contributed immensely over their long and distinguished career at IIT Kanpur to help in building our institute. Before proceeding with the program, I would like to mention that we are greatly honored and privileged to have Dr. Anil Kakatkar, former chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission of India, as the chief guest of this occasion. As I mentioned earlier, the entire ceremony will be virtual, for which all the speeches are pre-recorded. Also, the relevant documents such as certificates and photographs will be displayed instead of physical felicitation of the awardees. We start this program with the sacred custom of lighting a lamp. Every auspicious occasion in India, such as Teachers Day, generally starts with blessing of Ma Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Now, I would like to request Mrs. Pragya Khandekar to perform Saraswati Vandana. Thank you, Mrs. Khandekar. Now, I request our director, Professor Abhay Karandikar, to address on this occasion of Teachers Day.
Good evening and welcome to the celebration of Teachers Day. As you know that this day is celebrated on the occasion of the birth anniversary of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. On this auspicious occasion, we recognize and honor the contributions of all our teachers and colleagues who are doing in a selfless and dedicated way their services in mentoring and teaching our young students. IIT Kanpur has a long history of outstanding teaching and mentoring of both undergraduate and graduate students. Even I have had the privilege of being taught by some of the outstanding teachers of IIT Kanpur. On this occasion, I pay my respect and homage to all my teachers who have taught me in school, in college, and also in IIT Kanpur. Today, on this occasion, we are honoring our colleagues who have received the Award of Distinguished Teachers, Award for Excellence in Teaching, and also for their long and dedicated service of 25 years to the Institute. We are also honoring Professor T.V. Prabhakar for his sustained efforts and pioneering contributions to the online teaching and remote learning. Today, we are passing through very difficult times, and indeed it is unfortunate that this occasion of Teachers' Day has to be celebrated in this virtual mode. Because of these difficult times, like all other educational institutions, IIT Kanpur also has had to resort to online teaching and remote learning in this semester. No remote learning, howsoever perfect it may be, can replace the peer-to-peer learning that happens on the campus and also in-person mentoring by some of our outstanding colleagues, faculty and teachers that happens on the campus. Indeed, it is unfortunate that we do not have our young students on the campus. Our colleagues and all faculty members of IIT Kanpur are confronted with this unprecedented crisis. But I am very glad that all my colleagues have accepted this challenge and are doing their best to mentor the students remotely. I hope that we will get over this crisis soon, by the end of this year perhaps, and we will be able to get back all our students to the campus and will be able to interact and mentor and do the classroom teaching in a way which used to happen before March lockdown. Once again, thank you very much and my best wishes for the Teachers' Day. Let's hope that we will be able to interact with our students very soon on the campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Karandikar. We will now start the award ceremony. It is my great pleasure to announce our distinguished colleague who have completed 25 years of service. I, on behalf of the Institute, congratulate all of them. Professor Ashla Raina, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. Professor Shikha Dikshit, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Rahul Burman, Department of Industrial and Management Engineering, Professor B.V. Ratish Kumar, Department of Mathematics and Statistics, Professor Pankaj Jain, Department of Physics. Once again, congratulations to all. Now, I would like to read out the names one by one who have been awarded Distinguished Teachers Award. My hearty congratulations to each of the awardees. The first awardee is Professor S. C. Srivastav, Department of Electrical Engineering. Now, I request Professor R. M. Hegde, Head of the Department of Electrical Engineering, to read out the citation of Professor S. C. Srivastav.
Namaskar. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Distinguished Teaching Award ceremony of Professor Suresh Chandra Srivastava for the year 2020. He received his B.Tech degree in Electrical Engineering from Institute of Technology BHU in 1976 with a first rank in the institute, and a PhD from IIT Delhi in 1987. Since 28th November 1988, he is with the Department of Electrical Engineering at IIT Kanpur, where he has served as professor from December 1995. He has also served as the head of the Electrical Engineering Department, the Dean of Research and Development, and also the Deputy Director of IIT Kanpur. During August 2008 to 2009, he was a visiting research professor in the ECE department at Mississippi State University, US. He was also a visiting faculty at IIT Bangkok during 96-97 and a visiting professor at the University of Western Ontario during the summer of 2005. He has held the P.K. Kelkar and the Ministry of Labour and Employment Chair Professor positions at IIT Kanpur. Professor Srivastava has been a very popular teacher in Electrical Engineering Department among students, specifically in the power system area to which he belongs. The students have consistently ranked him very high for his excellent teaching. He was amongst the few top-ranked faculty members in the energy program at IIT Bangkok and ECE department at Mississippi State University when I was visiting there. He introduced several new courses in emerging areas of electrical power systems at IIT Kanpur, also several PG courses at IIT Bangkok. He was instrumental in starting the master's program in electrical engineering at Institute of Engineering Kathmandu under an MOU, and the PhD program in electrical power system management at IIT Bangkok. He has supervised 31 PhD and 65 master's theses, published more than 300 papers in refereed journals and conference proceedings. He has been PI, co-PI of 24 sponsored research and consultancy projects. Recently, he is also leading an Indo-US project which is called UI Assist on smart grid and storage from India, having $30 million US funding. He has served in the governing council and expert committee of several government organizations and utilities in India. He has also been associated with several expert committees of the Department of Science and Technology. He is at present the chairman of the expert committee of DST on Mission Innovation, Smart Grid, and also the Indo-UK program on the Smart Grid. His research efforts have been recognized in the form of fellowships of the Indian National Academy of Engineering, the Institution of Engineers India, the Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers, and the Indian Academy of Mathematical Modeling and Simulation. He is also the recipient of several awards, including the IEEE UP Section Lifetime Achievement Award 2016 and the Malaviya Award for Excellence in Power Systems in 2018. So, in recognition of his significant academic contributions to this institute, IIT Kanpur takes pride and pleasure in conferring upon Professor Suresh Chandra Srivastava the Distinguished Teacher Award for the year 2020.
Thank you, Professor Hegde. I would like to request Professor S. C. Srivastav to deliver the acceptance speech.
Namaskar. First of all, I convey my greetings to all of you on Teachers' Day, commemorating the birthday of a great scholar, philosopher, excellent teacher, and former President of India, Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. I would like to thank our institute and the award committee for finding me suitable for the Distinguished Teachers Award this year. Friends, after initially serving for 12 years in a consulting organization, Engineers India Limited at New Delhi, and subsequently for 32 years at IIT Kanpur, I'll be retiring this year on 30th November and consider this as a very precious pre-retirement gift to me. Now this takes me back to the days when I got the appointment letter from IIT Kanpur. I was to decide whether to continue in the industry or shift to the academics, and it was my father, some of our colleagues who helped me taking the decision, although it was good for me subsequently. But the first lesson on how to teach in a class was by my thesis supervisor, Professor Nanda, who is no more, and was an excellent teacher. Just before leaving for Kanpur, I went to him to get some advice on teaching. He told me, and I'm becoming very nostalgic about his words, that Suresh, if you expect students to write in the exam without their lecture notes or books, you should also prepare so well that you can deliver your lecture without a piece of paper in your hand. I tried to follow his advice all throughout my life and imbibed him in myself while teaching. I also went to share how challenging was my very first semester. Now, about a month before starting up the semester in December end, I joined this institute, and I was told that I have to teach an open elective final year BTech course, which was quite new to me. I was assigned a third year lab course and tutored to another core course, basic electrical engineering. The faculty member who taught this course had gone on leave, and I had no one to guide me on the reference materials, and I had to really work very hard for getting that. Now, apart from that, when semester started, one of our senior colleagues got hospitalized, and his PG course was also assigned to me, fortunately being close to my research area. Just imagine, the very first semester you join, and you don't know how to properly teach a course, how much one can cover in a class. Handling 4 courses was quite challenging. I was working day and night, preparing the material and practicing how to deliver the lecture in the class before going to the classroom. And at the same time, I also used to visit different labs to set up the experiment and also do myself before it starts. But I was amazed to get cooperation from students through their continuous feedback and posing new challenges, which made my learning and teaching process to stabilize after some time. I got a pleasant surprise when our head of department came after the semester was over and informed me that in that core course where I was tutor, I was rated as the best tutor and my name was announced in the Senate. And I was the only one who got this commendation in electrical engineering department. That gave me tremendous encouragement and confidence that I can also do well in teaching, apart from my own confidence in the industry where I was working. Now, I would like to admit that I am a conventional teacher, enjoy teaching on the board with a piece of chalk and continuously interacting with the students. The second instance I would like to mention, when I went to Mississippi State University after teaching for 20 years at IIT Kanpur and in between 2 years at IIT Bangkok. By that time I had started using slides just for revision of the lecture next day. And I was assigned a senior UG level course, core course, which was quite popular, not only because of its content, but because of the faculty member who have been continuously teaching, Niall Sulj, who was rated one of the best teachers in the EC department there. The expectations from students were quite high. Now the conventional teacher goes and starts teaching on the board, and after 2 lectures they became very uncomfortable and advised me that, sir, this was not how Niall was teaching. She was using the slides and her lectures were more practice oriented, not giving so much theoretical insight. Then I said, look, if you want to learn the subject in depth, you have to know the fundamental. Please be with me for 4 or 5 more lectures. And they all were very patient and agreed. And finally, they started liking the course. So apart from explaining on the board, next day I will go with my slides, revise the course, give them practical examples. And then finally, when they rated, the rating was even higher than Noel. And really, it gave me so much joy that in the international fora also, I have kept the name of IIT Kanpur high. Now, being a faculty member, friends, you have to balance on several fronts. I wish to mention 4 of them, which are important pillars in everyone's career. The most important component which I was talking is the teaching. And I have seen that in recent 10 to 15 years, and particularly this year, it has seen a lot of transformation from online content generation through a great platform like NPTEL to the online delivery these days. Whatever mode you follow, you have to devote a lot of time in preparing lecture material, and the most important part is the proper delivery. Now, one practice which I followed while delivering a lecture is to always keep the weakest student in the class in mind and keep my pace so that they also get acquainted with the course while making it challenging to the brighter ones. I know that this balance is very difficult. Second important part is the research, both fundamental as well as the translational, which helps in generating new ideas and forces you to work for the changing technological needs in your area of expertise. The third component is the professional activities which make oneself known to the outside world, and the institutional responsibility. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was caught in 3 of them, but I would like to tell you that you should always teach a course whenever you are taking this responsibility, because this vents out all your worries which you have gathered while doing your administrative responsibility. The last one, but the extremely important, which sometimes we forget, is the one's own personal front, both in terms of giving time to your family and to your own health. One has to properly balance all these 4 pillars. I was lucky to get constant support from my family members, my parents, who motivated me to shift to academics, my brothers, sisters, wife, and children for their constant support, my teachers, specifically doctoral supervisors, who always inspired me through their excellent teaching and guidance, my senior colleagues in the institute who mentored not only at the time of joining but also subsequently, my other faculty members and staff for their continuous support. The most important to me are the students whose young mind always posed challenge to me in maintaining quality of my teaching and research. I would like to thank each one of them on this occasion and dedicate this award to them. I am quite humbled and honored to accept this award from my dearest institute, IIT Kanpur, which I will cherish throughout rest of my life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Srivastav. The second awardee is Professor Aparna Dar, Department of Mathematics and Statistics. Now, I request Professor Amit Mitra, Head of the Department of Mathematics and Statistics, to read the citation of Professor Aparna Dar.
It's a pleasure and privilege for me to read out the citation of Professor Aparna Dar, recipient of Distinguished Teacher Award 2020. Professor Aparna Dar was born on October 5, 1958 in Kolkata, West Bengal. She joined the 5-year integrated program in mathematics at IIT Kanpur in 1975 and was greatly influenced and inspired by her teachers at IIT Kanpur, such as Professor U.B. Tiwari, Professor Krishna Tiwari, etc. She received her MSc integrated degree in mathematics from IIT Kanpur in May 1980. She obtained her PhD degree in mathematics from the State University of New York, Stony Brook, USA, in 1984 in the field of topology and geometry under the guidance of Professor Jeff Chigar, a leading expert in the field of geometry and topology. She was subsequently a postdoctoral fellow at the Institute of Advanced Studies, Princeton, during 1984-85, at TIFR Mumbai during 1985-87, and at the Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Chennai in 1988, and also at ICTP Trieste, Italy in the first half of 1989. Professor Aparna Dar's work on topology and geometry of singular spaces in her PhD thesis opened a new area of research in topology and geometry, which has become an active area of current research. Her current research interests are in knot theory, where she was able to solve a fundamental problem which had been open for over 100 years. Professor Aparna Dar joined the Department of Mathematics and Statistics in July 1989 as a lecturer in mathematics and presently serves as a professor in the department. In her own words, she is extremely happy to have had the opportunity to teach at her alma mater, where she had received an excellent training in mathematics as a student herself. Her attitude towards teaching was and still is deeply influenced by the spiritual ideals of patriot saint of modern day India, Swami Vivekananda. Professor Aparna Dar's teaching philosophy has always been influenced by Swami Vivekananda's philosophy. True education lies in making the student gain confidence in their own abilities to think independently for themselves. This continues to be the guiding inspiration behind her teaching from 1989 onwards until the present times at IIT Kanpur, where she has completed 30 years of teaching. In this period, she has received 32 commendation letters of appreciation for her teaching from 5 different directors of this institute. She has guided more than 20 master's theses at IIT Kanpur, of which several students have excelled in their work and are now professors of mathematics at reputed institutes in India. Professor Aparna Dar has always been interested in techniques of imparting mathematics education in topology and geometry in order to nurture and inspire the brilliant young minds who join IIT Kanpur. She has read extensively from excellent mathematical expositors such as David Hilbert, Colin Adams, and tried to make topology and geometry interesting, fascinating, stimulating, and challenging for the students. She took an active part in STEMatics, a student forum of the Department of Mathematics and Statistics, in its early days and initiated student seminars under the umbrella of STEMatics. She has been an active member of counseling service for 30 years and has been a faculty counselor for many students. Professor Aparna Dar has always tried to be an approachable friend, philosopher, and guide to a large number of students of IIT Kanpur. In the words of her own students, Aparna ma'am shall always be an exemplary example of a mentor and person of great kindness and humility, and a guiding model during my entire academic career. I still remember being struck by the clarity of her lectures, the enthusiasm and energy that she brought to the blackboard that all of our students were inspired by. It is with pride and pleasure that IIT Kanpur confers the Distinguished Teacher Award for the year 2020 on Professor Aparna Dar.
Thank you, Professor Mitra. I request Professor Aparna Dar to deliver the acceptance speech.
Good afternoon to all distinguished colleagues and all respected members of the IIT Kanpur family. I feel deeply honored and privileged that the institute considers me worthy of receiving the Distinguished Teacher Award. IIT Kanpur is my alma mater, as I had been an undergraduate mathematics student here from 1975 to 1980. I have had the honor of being taught here at IIT Kanpur by several excellent teachers such as Professor U.B. Tiwari, Professor Mrs. Krishna Tiwari, Professor Parasness of the Physics Department, and many others. And their kindness and inspiration to me motivated me to pursue higher studies and take up the teaching profession along the manner which was shown to me by them. I would also like to thank my PhD advisor, Professor Jeff Cheeger of SUNY Stony Brook, whose warmth and generosity towards students became the shining inspiration of my life. Next, I would like to give special thanks to my students, past and present, which has made my 30 years of teaching services at IIT Kanpur a joy and a reward in itself. My heartfelt thanks to my late mother, whose deepest wish for me was to teach gifted and talented students to my best ability, and my mother's encouragement and support is the strength which enabled me to pursue the teaching path at IIT Kanpur to my best abilities. Being deeply inspired by Swami Vivekananda from my childhood days in Kolkata, my main mantra for teaching has come from Swami Vivekananda's interpretation of education. To quote from the great Swami Vivekananda, true education lies in making the student gain confidence in their own abilities to think for themselves and become self-reliant. So this has been my guiding principle in my teaching services at IIT Kanpur for the last 30 years. Also, I have been motivated to make mathematics interesting and fascinating for students in order to nurture and inspire the brilliant young students that join IIT Kanpur and to bring out the best in these wonderful, brilliant young minds. To nurture the latent talent in our students and to enable them to blossom to their full intellectual potential. The main technique I have used towards this goal is to give students multiple assignments and multiple projects to pursue while I teach my courses. Sometimes even promising extra rewards for specially challenging problems, which never fails to work. It has been a joy for me to see my former students presently holding responsible professorships and other eminent positions at reputed institutes of our country and abroad. This is the greatest joy of the teaching profession, and I think I have received a great deal of this wonderful award from the students here. So, I thank IIT Kanpur for giving me the opportunity to teach with complete freedom in my alma mater, IIT Kanpur, which has been a great honor for me. This teaching award means a lot to me, as it is a recognition of my sincere teaching services at IIT Kanpur for 30 years. I express my heartfelt thanks to all of you that you have thought me worthy of receiving this award. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dar. Our third distinguished teacher awardee is Professor Debashis Chaudhary, Department of Physics. I would like to request Professor R. Vijaya, Head of the Department of Physics, to read out the citation of Professor Debashis Chaudhary.
Professor Debashis Chaudhary did his BSc from St. Xavier's College in Ranchi, his master's degree MSc in Physics from IIT Kanpur and his PhD from IIT Kanpur. After 3 years of postdoctoral work abroad, he came and joined Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi. Then he moved to IIT Kanpur in 1992 and became a full professor in 1997. Professor Chaudhary's primary research interests are in statistical physics and biophysics. His current interests are in the physics of natural nanomachines for information processing in living cells and the physics of collective subcellular phenomena driven by molecular motors. His role as a researcher has been par excellence, as is clear from the number of papers, books, book chapters and the review articles written by him. He is an elected fellow of all the 3 National Science Academies in India. He is a J.C. Bose National Fellow since 2013 and he has also occupied different chair professorships at IIT Kanpur in the last 10 years. He has driven international collaborations in research and the PhD and master students mentored by him occupy faculty positions in many institutions in India and abroad. Professor Chaudhary has taught courses at all levels in the physics department. His role as a teacher has been appreciated over the years due to the emphasis on excellence in course delivery and evaluation. In a career spanning 28 years at IIT Kanpur, Professor Chaudhary has made significant contributions to the institute as well. He was the head of the Department of Physics during 2015 to 2018. He has also served as a member of several Senate committees. It is with pride and pleasure that IIT Kanpur confers the Distinguished Teaching Award for the year 2020 on Professor Debashis Chaudhary. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vijaya. Now, I request Professor Debashis Chaudhary to share his experience through the acceptance speech.
Faculty colleagues, staff members, students, ladies and gentlemen, wish you all a happy Teachers' Day. It's a great honor and privilege to receive the Distinguished Teacher Award of IIT Kanpur. I thank the Institute administration for finding me worthy of this honor. Our Associate Dean, Professor Shah, asked me to share some of my personal experiences and ideas of teaching with all of you. But to tell you the truth, I do not have any novel original ideas on the best possible teaching methodology. It is my understanding that at our institute, at least in the context of this award, the term teaching is to be taken in its broadest possible sense. I believe that in addition to the usual classroom teaching, guiding bachelor's and master's projects, supervising PhD thesis, and mentoring postdocs can also be treated as instances of teaching. In the light of these observations, I will narrate a few personal anecdotes based on my interactions with IITK students over the past 3 decades. What makes these reminiscences unique from my perspective is that those interactions not only revealed the best side of the character of our brilliant students, but they have also repeatedly opened new research directions for me. When I look back at those experiences garnered over all these years, I feel the greatest sense of pride and satisfaction at what many of these students have gone on to achieve, which outshines what any award can possibly provide. I dedicate this Distinguished Teacher Award to the memory of my 3 teachers whom I have lost in the last 1 year. They are my PhD thesis supervisor, Professor Abhijit Mukherjee, my first postdoc mentor, Professor Dietrich Stauffer, and my second postdoc mentor, Professor Jim Gunton. Like all of you, I learned first from my teachers and subsequently from my colleagues, faculty colleagues in particular, and collaborators. However, I learned the most from my students. There are numerous memorable experiences of my interaction with our students at IITK. Due to the time constraint, I will narrate only a few anecdotes. I accepted the offer of faculty position at IITK in the summer of 1992 and decided to join in December of that year. Around July 1992, I received a letter. Email facility was of course not available for correspondence back then. So I got this letter from a senior physicist in Kolkata asking me whether I would really join IITK. One of his brilliant post-MSc students, Prabal Maiti, had been offered admission to the PhD program at IITK, but would join only if I agreed to be his thesis supervisor. During the first semester of 1992-93, a senior faculty colleague served as Prabal's temporary guide, and he transferred to my group soon after my arrival in December. I enjoyed many successful collaboration with him on physics of soft and colloidal matter. It was a privilege to have Prabal as my first PhD student at IIT Kanpur. When I advised him in 1998 to apply for the Dr. Shankardal Sharma Award, he refused and argued I did research and social work not for seeking an award. The rule was then relaxed and a group of faculty members nominated Prabal for this award, which he went on to receive that year. A few years ago, he got elected as a fellow of the Indian Academy of Sciences and now serves as the chair of the physics department at IISc Bangalore. Within 2 months of my arrival at IITK, one day I found 2 MSc 5-year integrated students waiting for me at VH reception area. A D room in VH was my temporary residence for the first few months. They requested me to teach a particular course in the next semester. The resourceful students had already met the HOD with their wish list of specific instructors for courses of their choice in the upcoming semester, and the HOD had advised them to seek consent of those instructors. It is common for college and university students to approach their administration with a charter of demands. But how many institutions have instances of students who approach the administration with a wish list for specific instructors in the courses of their choice? One of those 2 students, Shiraz Minwala, has gone on to become an internationally distinguished and renowned professor at TIFR, who was also a recipient of the Distinguished Alumnus Award of IITK. Around 1996, in collaboration with a couple of German research groups, I began working on applications of non-equilibrium statistical mechanics to traffic science and engineering. During the period of 97-99, several of my papers in this area of research were co-authored by some of the brilliant 5-year integrated MSc students. And this includes Professor Abhay Pashupati, now at Columbia University, Professor Ajay Gopinathan, now at UC Merced in California, and Professor Kingshuk Ghosh at the University of Denver, Colorado. Around 2001, while doing a term paper in one of my elective courses, a 4th-year student, Vishpesha Guttal, of 5-year integrated MSc program, joined me in exploring applications of methods of physics to movement ecology and collective pattern formation. With this UG student, I co-authored my first paper in a new direction of research. This line of research later brought me several national and international recognitions. Vishwesha delved deeper into these collective phenomena in ecology during his postdoctoral research at Princeton and returned as a faculty member in the Center for Ecological Sciences at IISc Bangalore. Now he is one of the leading quantitative ecological scientists in India. In fact, 4 days ago, I found the following sentence on his official website. My undergraduate education, integrated MSc in physics, was at IIT Kanpur. This is where I was first introduced to theoretical biology by Professor Devashish Chaudhary. Around 2005, another second-year student, Akash Basu, of 5-year integrated MSc program, just walked into my office to discuss on a topic that had aroused his curiosity. While working with him on this curiosity, I was led to another new direction of research on macromolecular machine called ribosome and on polysome. I wrote my first paper on this topic with Akash. Few years later, I met a professor of Stanford University at a conference. After my talk, he came to me to share that he had recently served as a member of Akash's PhD examination committee, and that Akash had thanked me in the acknowledgement of his thesis. Later, when Akash sent a copy of his thesis to me, I found in the acknowledgement of the thesis, "My thanks to Debashish Chaudhary for introducing me to biophysics and for being a wonderful mentor ever since." One of the alumni of our 2-year MSc program wrote to me last year from Harvard, where he was then a postdoc, just after accepting offer for a faculty position from a prestigious research institute. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you. The course on non-equilibrium StatMech that you taught us at IIT has been one of the most helpful courses in my scientific journey thus far. I still hold on to the notes from your class very dearly and often refer to it in the process of my research. When my research interest shifted gradually to biological physics, I began offering elective courses on the subject at both UG and PG levels. Several bright students of BSB attended those courses, and some of them have maintained regular contact with me, sharing the excitement of their latest discoveries. One of them, Mohit Jolly, who also served as the president of Students' Gymkhana, wrote to me exactly 6 years ago. "Wishing you a very happy Teachers' Day. I am grateful to you for being the first teacher introducing me to biological physics through your science elective. That course sparked my interest in research in this field, and I felt motivated to explore what problems in this field piqued my curiosity." Mohit is now a faculty member in the Center for Biosystems Science and Engineering at IISc Bangalore. In fact, in January this year, he got selected as a member of the India National Young Academy of Sciences, INYAS. Such appreciations from the students are more important rewards for a teacher than the official citations that come with formal award. Before I started my career as a teacher, I had read the remarks by a very distinguished professor at Cambridge. If I recall correctly, it was Sir Sam Edwards. On the occasion of a milestone birthday celebration for one of his legendary teachers, again if I recall correctly, it was Sir Rudolph Peierls. He said that they got deep physical insight from Peierls' intentional calculation mistakes on the blackboard. I have been following this prescription for the last 3 decades. While teaching very subtle conceptual points, sometimes I deliberately make an argument which at first sight appears to be correct. However, proceeding a few more steps, I arrived at a conclusion that is patently false. Tracing our path backwards to pinpoint the source of the error invariably teaches the students why the original argument, in spite of being seemingly reasonable, was wrong. Amusingly, this strategy of mine failed once. In my first semester at IITK, a brilliant student, Shilpa Jain, of the 5-year MSc program, was registered in my elective course. She would listen to me with full attention, rarely taking notes. But as soon as I would commit a deliberate mistake on the board, she would immediately point out the flaw in my argument. This would deny me the opportunity to lead the students along the wrong path to the dead end in a dramatic fashion, and then retracing the path to the original flaw. In the last couple of minutes, I would like to thank a few senior faculty colleagues for the specific lessons I learned from them. I will also thank my students whose contributions could not be discussed because of time constraints. And last but not the least, my family members whose contributions go far beyond what my words can express. I try to learn the art of lecturing in institute core courses by regularly attending the lectures delivered in L7 by Professor Kalyan Banerjee and Professor Jayanta Bhattacharjee after I joined the institute. I try to improve my teaching ability in institute core courses by receiving regular feedback from Professor Ashok Malik, who, as one of the tutors, attended all my lectures in L7 when I taught Physics 101, which is now called Physics 102A, for the first time. I tried to emulate Professor Alok Majumdar's and Professor Harish Verma's styles of interaction with the first year UG students, particularly in the tutorials. From Professor A.P. Shukla, I learned the need for presenting a brief historical background of the topics of standard courses to convey an important message to the students. Historically, many dead ends and tortuous paths of discovery eventually led to the finished product delivered in the textbooks and taught in standard courses. So far as my mentoring PhD students is concerned, Professor Amitabh Ghosh has been my role model. I do not know how far I have succeeded in my endeavor, only my students know. Here I have listed the names of my students whose contribution, although enormous, I could not cover in this brief presentation. My son Debanjan's regular critical assessment of my academic performance has kept me on my toes in the last 10 years. Although in the last 2 years his critical comments have become milder due to the moderation by our daughter-in-law Priyanka. My acknowledgement would be incomplete if I do not mention one name who, for the last 34 years, has shouldered all the responsibilities of our family, thereby allowing me to devote more time to teaching and research. And that's my wife, Indrani. Let us hope next year, 5th September, will be in the post-COVID era. We will be back to our normal life and we'll celebrate Teachers' Day in our traditional way. Till then, let us all stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chaudhary. Congratulations once again to all the awardees. Now we move on to the recently constituted award named Excellence in Teaching Award. I would like to announce the names of colleagues receiving Excellence in Teaching Award in 2020. Professor Sanjay Mittal, Department of Aerospace Engineering. Professor Mainak Das, Department of Biological Sciences and Bioengineering. Professor Partha Chakravarti, Department of Civil Engineering. Professor Rajesh Srivastav, Department of Civil Engineering. Professor V. Shankar, Department of Chemical Engineering. Professor S. Managaran, Department of Chemistry. Professor Mainak Chaudhary, Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Professor Shantanu Mishra, Department of Arts Sciences. Professor Shahini Shahu, Department of Economic Sciences. Professor K.V. Srivastav, Department of Electrical Engineering. Professor A.R. Harish, Department of Electrical Engineering. Professor Braj Bhushan, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. Professor Amit Shukla, Department of Industrial and Management Engineering. Professor Shamir Khandekar, Department of Mechanical Engineering. Professor Ishan Sharma, Department of Mechanical Engineering. Professor Anish Upadhyay, Department of Material Science and Engineering. Professor P. Shanmugraj, Department of Mathematics and Statistics. Professor Aparna Dar, Department of Mathematics and Statistics. Professor Y.N. Mahapatra, Department of Physics. Professor Tapabrata Sarkar, Department of Physics. My heartfelt congratulations to all the awardees. Now I would like to announce the 1989 Batch Faculty Award of IIT Kanpur. This award is a recognition of the use of innovative and technology enhanced content to improve the quality of undergraduate instruction. For the year 2019, the award goes to Professor T.B. Prabhakar, Department of Computer Science and Engineering. The award carries a certificate and cash prize of 2.5 lakhs. Congratulations to Professor Prabhakar. Now I request Professor S. Ganesh, Deputy Director, to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Anil Kakotkar.
Colleagues and students, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce our chief guest for this year's Teacher Day function, Dr. Anil Kakotkar. The name Dr. Anil Kakotkar does not need any introduction to this audience, therefore I would keep it brief. Dr. Kakotkar is a nuclear physicist and a mechanical engineer by training. He graduated with BE degree in mechanical engineering from Bombay University in 1963, and MSc degree in the experimental stress analysis from Nottingham University in 1969. Dr. Kakotkar joined the Baba Atomic Research Center, BARC, in the year 1964. He became the director of BARC in the year 1996 and was the chairman, Atomic Energy Commission, and secretary to the Government of India, Department of Atomic Energy, during the years 2002 to 2009. He has worked for the development of atomic energy program in India throughout his professional life. He was amongst the chosen few involved in the first successful peaceful nuclear explosion experiment that India conducted on May 18, 1974 at Pokhran, and later he played a key role in the series of successful nuclear tests conducted during May 1998, again at Pokhran. For his key contribution to India's strategic programs, Dr. Kakotkar has been awarded Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan by the Government of India. We are very thankful to Dr. Anil Kakotkar for agreeing to give this keynote address on the occasion of Teachers' Day celebration 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ganesh. Now I request Dr. Anil Kakotkar to address on this auspicious occasion of Teachers' Day.
Professor Abhay Karandikar, Director, Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, distinguished invitees for today's Teachers' Day function, deans, members of faculty, distinguished teachers who have been recognized for excellence in teaching and also long service at this institute, dear students, members of staff, ladies and gentlemen. Let me at the outset express my gratitude for this opportunity to be amongst you for the Teachers' Day event that you are all celebrating. Teachers, to my mind, are the most important people in our lives, next only to our parents. And importance of good teaching, I don't have to mention here that this importance is increasing day by day, looking at the challenges of times and also challenges in which we find ourselves specifically. Let me also use this occasion to extend my greetings to all of you on the Teachers' Day. We also have Guru Purnima when we pay respects to our teachers, and Teachers' Day, to my mind, is another Guru Purnima. So pranams to all teachers who are present today and also all those who are connected with IIT Kanpur. I want to use today's occasion to talk about the education landscape in our country, both in terms of addressing the challenges before us, but also in terms of addressing the challenges which the emerging times, the knowledge era, the fast changing technologies and the like are kind of placing before us in the context of education. And then I want to talk about education both in the broader context, but also in the specific context of some of the experiences that all of us have gone through as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. So that's broadly what I intend to be discussing with you. Now, I want to do that here because to my mind, IITs are the apex institutions in the education landscape in our country. Now, we are a large country, large number of aspirants who want to get into the high quality education to ensure a good career for them. But having said that, there is, in India, we have this dual challenge of quality, and that starts sharply declining as soon as you leave IIT domain and start looking outside, except a few other institutions. But even more importantly, there is this problem of numbers, the problem of scale, problem of access to large number of students to high quality education. And unless we look at all these problems together holistically, I think it's probably not possible to address the education challenge in our country. So that is what I intend doing. Let's talk about IITs first. Clearly, IITs have made a huge impact. That's where you have this nearly mad rush of the young people wanting to kind of score well at JEEs, JEE Main, JEE Advanced, and get into the portals of this great institution or a chain of institutions. But more importantly, I think IITs have actually shown that not only their teaching quality is at high level, but I think equally important is the research contributions that IITs have made. And even more importantly, the impact both within the country, but the global impact that IITs have made. And all this reflects in the career of students. And so I think we are all extremely proud of the extremely high performance all IITs, including IIT Kanpur, have demonstrated for last several years in a very consistent manner. But as I said in the beginning, I want to discuss the education domain at large. Now, specific to IIT, I think we should recognize that, the impact of IITs, the global impact of IITs has been felt. And in fact, IITs have been one item over which India has been exerting its soft power, as it were. IITs are among the biggest contributors to the billion-dollar startups created by immigrants in the United States of America, for example. Now, and that's the power. So I hope logically we should be able to have much larger number of billion-dollar startups in India, because there are larger number of IIT students in India than in United States. And I think to some extent it has started happening. But that's one big impact that we must recognize, that apart from the growth of knowledge, IITs have contributed to the wealth generation in the country. Now, IITs themselves are, of course, they have shown consistently high ranks. And I think if you look at IIT ranks discipline-wise, then I think even at global scale, they will be very high, certainly well within 100, maybe closer to 50 or better. And that's one thing which again we are very proud of. And IITs are not kind of stopping there. They are continuously exploring more avenues to become more holistic and to become more comprehensive. IITs have started looking at medical science, for example. They have started looking at humanities, for example, and also several projects where you need to look at all this together. So I think IIT is a great story which all Indians are proud of. They have made a big contribution, and so I think I once again want to uh, recognize the contribution made by IIT teachers for all these achievements. But as I said in the beginning, there is this problem of scale. Now, IITs, while they have expanded, while their numbers have become bigger compared to what it was maybe a decade earlier, but the fact still remains that the number of students they are able to cater to is much shorter, much smaller compared to the total number of aspirants or the total number of youth in the country wanting to get there, or the so-called demographic dividend of our country. And so obviously there is this fierce competition to get into IITs, and that itself has created a lot of distortion. You know, children prepare for 2-3 years purely in an exam-oriented manner, how to crack the exam and get 2 marks more than the competitor, because that's what will make a huge difference. And I think this is creating a very adverse impact on the psyche of these young people. And when they complete this and are successful in JEs, many of them actually feel they have already arrived, as if that was the only ambition in life. And so I think there is something that we need to correct here, and that can be only done by enhancing the general quality of education and also the opportunities for the students after they come out of that education. And similarly, we should kind of, today there is a huge disparity. You are in IIT, you have one career path. You are not in IIT, but somewhere else. Leave aside some of the better institutions. So they also are comparable with IITs in many ways, but I'm talking about the education institutions at large. And there you can, it makes a huge difference, creating a lot of disparity. And so there is this, because of this mad rush and mad competition, you have this coaching class culture flourishing in the country. And coaching classes have become actually an economy by themselves, because that size is in fact as large as the education budget of the country or larger. And strictly speaking, that financial resource can be leveraged for doing something better. And I'll come to that in a short while. But I think we need to really decide whether we will allow these tensions and frustrations to build up, or will we create a transformation leading to a competitive society that is at peace with itself, and that peace remains whether one gets into IIT or not. In the society and the children at large, they are at peace with themselves. So can we leverage our demographic dividend to rapidly enhance our intellectual capital? And that's important, not just the numbers which are in IIT, but the gross numbers in the country as a whole, because that intellectual capital is very crucially needed for the growth and well-being of our nation in the emerging knowledge era. Will we allow business to leverage our intellectual resources and exploit our markets. And this is what is happening. On the outside, there is business exploiting through these coaching classes for IITs. But on the other side, there is this business in advanced countries, which is actually getting more advantage of our IIT capability. And then you get that technology back in India, but you have to pay money. So, so we are allowing business to exploit our markets in spite of the great contribution that IITs are making. So instead of that, will we be able to create conditions for our intellectual capital to grow and grow here and serve our society, including the unserved, while at the same time leveraging global markets for the betterment of our country? And of course, we must go international. We must engage with everybody else outside. But it should be like we leverage that for our benefit rather than they leverage us for their benefit. And that is what I think we need to address. I believe this to be a crucial question for realizing the dream of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I think only IITs can address this challenge. And I know IITs are progressively kind of making improvement in this regard. We hear more and more successes in this context, but I think more needs to happen. And I leave this point here. COVID-19 has revealed several fault lines in ways we have been conducting ourselves. Speaking about education, the schools and colleges have been forced to restart or resort to online teaching. However, this mode does not permit a vast majority of students, either on account of economic divide or urban-rural divide, to participate and continue the learning process. There is now thus a danger that the education divide may in fact become greater, at least in the interim, till our communication infrastructure improves so that everybody can benefit from online instruction. So it has to improve further. Or alternatively, we implement, because that infrastructure development may take some time, couple of years or more. So alternative is we implement an appropriate technology consistent with the ground reality. I remember at this point of time, the site experiment, which was kind of initiated and conducted under the leadership of Dr. Sarabhai. But 45 years after the country conducted that site experiment, to address this very issue, we still seem to be driven by external factors rather than determination by our own thinking. And that makes me very painful. I'm connected with an IT institution working in the knowledge and societal development space, MKCL, with which I happen to be associated. And MKCL is currently running an education serial aligned to formal curriculum on mainstream education, mainstream television, for classes 1 to 8 in local vernacular. An app has also been launched through which the content released on television is also made available in a more interactive and engaging form that can facilitate further self-learning, mentoring, peer-to-peer learning. The program content has been designed leveraging the concepts of constructivism and behaviorism. The discerning viewers have appreciated the self-learning and social learning theory behind the program. The program has benefited around 1.5 crore students in Maharashtra, realizing all encompassing excellence at scale in the domain of holistic education. Now, this would require appropriate technologies to be rapidly developed and deployed with full participation of all stakeholders. And this, I think, was the main driving force for this program. But I think we need to realize as soon as we can and create this facility for our children. Only then can we hope to become globally competitive without creating disparities at home. Education, skilling, and passion to address local problems with confidence and creativity need to be vertically and horizontally integrated as a continuum, deeply engaged with the neighborhood. This should help create massive self-employment and entrepreneurship at all levels and reduce the mad rush to go to IITs. In turn, this would reduce the market for coaching classes and catalyze redeployment of resources for complementary areas of education, such as skilling appropriate to the needs of research on one side, and as well as skilling appropriate to the needs of society on the other. There is also a question of imbibing life skills and creating an emotional connect with the neighborhood. Now, I think we need an ecosystem where we can, have all these things operating in parallel. And there is a lot of business, skilling is a business. So some of the people who have kind of investments in coaching class, can we wean away some of that into the process of skilling or into the process of, let us say, personality development, into the process of some complementary aspects of professional learning, where there are, procedural learning, as one may call. And I think this can very well be done by such kind of institutions, the coaching classes, and they can do it in a face-to-face mode or through technology mode or the blended mode. And I think you can help create an ecosystem which will gradually improve the quality of other education institutions, as well as churn out young people with much higher capability and with enough career attraction or opportunity, regardless of the level at which they kind of transit or make a transition from education domain to the actual career domain, because education is a lifelong activity, it never stops. But everybody has to think about livelihood, and that livelihood, that level should be attractive enough to prevent that sharp disparity which I was talking about. The last point that I wish to make today is all this having said, we need to recognize that larger part of our population in fact lives in villages even today. And so there are larger number of youth in villages. And I think there are also larger number of opportunities in villages. In the knowledge era, in addition to the agriculture or the value addition to agro produce or allied activities, I think there are opportunities in terms of manufacturing, because manufacturing can be decentralized or democratized in knowledge era. 3D printing is a classic example. Or even in, for example, service sector. See, whatever contribution or whatever earnings people can create leveraging even IT, simple thing like IT, uh, whether they are people belonging to villages or cities, I think they should be able to benefit from this opportunity in equal measure, provided we can create access to these children from villages for such capacity building, such knowledge, such education environment. And so I think it's extremely important that we should look at education as an integral part of activities in the society, regardless of whether we are talking about a village or a city. So just like manufacturing or livelihood is an integral activity in society, a good social connect is an important aspect of the personality development or development of responsible individuals. I think likewise, professional education at a variety of levels, including higher professionals, and also education which can contribute to higher level of value addition in villages, along with the research that is necessary to remain competitive. And I'm talking about competitive in global sense. I think all such environments should take place everywhere, including in villages. So I have been championing this concept of sillage, city in a village, or Dr. Kalam used to talk about Pura, providing urban amenities in rural areas. I think we should go one step further and leverage the knowledge opportunities which currently are restricted to cities to bring them to villages and create a complete ecosystem consistent with the new age society, and making our members of new age society an equal part, equally competitive part in the global domain. And if you do that, I think there is no stopping for a country like India with such large demographic dividend. And of course, I don't have to tell you what could happen if that does not happen. And so I think we have this new education policy. I think it's a good policy. There are many elements which need to be worked upon. But I think we need to work it in the context of this larger ambition to make India globally competitive, to make an average Indian's earning or contribution to GDP per capita at the same level as the best in the world. And that is what should be the ambition of our education. I'm sure IITs are doing a great job, but now my appeal is to carry this huge burden. It's actually a drag on the system, but I think unless we do this in a manner that instead of it being a drag, it becomes a good propulsive force. It provides you good inputs through JE. It provides you people who are well rooted into the needs of this country. I think the contribution of IITs themselves may go leaps and bounds forward. So I think I want to leave this thought with all of you today on this Teachers' Day, and stop here. Thank you once again for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kakatkar. Now it is the time to give vote of thanks. It is my pleasure to extend a vote of thanks to all those who helped us directly and indirectly to make this event a success. I would like to thank the Media Technology Center in making this film, Office of the Dean of Academic Affairs, Office of the Dean of Research and Alumni, Office of Dean of Faculty Affairs, the Directorate, and all those whose names I might have missed. Lastly, I would like to thank Mrs. Amaravati Vishwas, Mrs. Pragya Khandekar, and Dr. Devanand Pathak for their contribution. We will conclude the program with national anthem presented by Mrs. Amaravati Vishwas and Dr. Devanand Pathak.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंग। विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंग। तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मागे। गाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।